Hello, my name is Anthony Wall. This is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. Before the World Trade Center attack, strangers asked me for confessions. Asked me for help, and they also made confessions relative. No, in other words, regarding what I turned up, what turned out to be names. See, since I was a kid, I was aware that there were names from off the locations, like campuses. What is actually recorded is from off all campuses. There are criminal foreign influences in demonstration of a human fact tribute nature breaching method singular that took and maintains roles hyper additionally with other apparent or apparent motivations, natures, needs, interests for why and how things that we could demonstrate. We have black people as whites of eyes, just to the fact that that was left out with questions like what caused slavery, a human fact tribute nature breaching method that was entrenched northern colonies and southern colonies against every single person sickly distinctly to measure and maintain that all natures of reason are going to leave out how sickly non-distinctly or be discerned too, right through their own people, because now they have natures of industries, natures of voicings like for things like integrity or things like good or bad. The breaching method is an identity of relativity to us. The breaching method knew that it would have to keep its every identity of relativity has relativity to positive and negative simultaneously. And identity has relativity to positive and negative simultaneously, just like values do. And because it also comes with, how we function when nature is also positive onto itself. But we have a bridge of those systems individually grouped together. And this breaching method only measures and maintains everyone only capable of blaming other things, others ourselves. There's a bunch of ways recorded. For example, I never tried to contact a Joe DiMauro, and they made fake exceptions of me knowing him, and they hid that, as he looks just like the brother of a John DiMauro, who's one of the ones involved with criminal enterprises and with Wethersfield police switching and forging names and evidences and sequences, and with courts. New Britain Superior Court, Connecticut's District Court, and Hartford courts have been refusing to identify themselves, forging and switching names. They have an officer, increasingly people from Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, Connecticut, have been collusion with people with intelligence families from Wethersfield who are connected through time, increasingly involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders. And these are people on off the state of Connecticut corrections offices and judicial bar offices, also with names next to them increasingly involved with predicate acts methods. These are also people. So you see Aaron Mate saying, well, this guy was speaking about if he thinks people are going to be reformed or not. Notice the name there, corrections. These are also people with the military. There's a David, they made fake kicks. He doesn't even know me. He's been used to plant evidences with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, a whole bunch of different countries, and his co-defendants and their family members and their neighbors. Eric Jensen and his neighbor, Dominic Lepriata, is involved also with the Thaddeus Grabowski on Fox Connecticut News. Has something to do with their roles with the Domain family, too. Is also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with child defenders, leaders of kids, in ways they only know to an extent they can't be honest about. Because this is a method that keeps them incapable, the identities of law incapable of defending themselves in their logic and nature actively, without self-valuing having been since they were kids, and simultaneously without self-valuing all natures of perspective on nature and things. It's still it's abridged logic, clearer than day. So there's a singular torture, extortion, slavery method, manifest three ways. Manifest as identity theft, fraud, slander, black pupils. And so in other words, Not by accident. This breaching method set that up and sustained roles with it. Witch trials too. Regardless of who made it about the breaching method, the predicate acts with facts delivery system method, and the difference of it as that or as a criminal insidiousness nature delivery system method. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a police form. Lawyers and police forms are recorded too. There's a Trantolo and Trantolo, who's also all along Route 3. There's a Cromwell school that's on one of the conjunctions, a grammar school, one of the conjunctions to Route 3. Involved with people had a whole bunch of bad things happen to kids and more child defenders, leaders of the kids, and their roles with the stories. And there's with the people with the name O'Brien involved, also at Sandy Hook, Newtown, Connecticut, and with their roles with Meriden, and with each of the sciences. They have the family members of a Dean Judd who sought me out. I never responded. And as part of the confessions of the people tied to former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, people associated with his deposition and the depositions of his co-defendants and their lawyer, and next to his lawyer's office, a Robert Chevrolet is involved. Spots next to the state capitol, like the Harry Beecher Stowe Mark Twain house, where there's also this syntactical possession. These have roles with foreign and domestic medical families, fabricating conversations, forging names of doctors, and putting whole fake quotes because they already used all natures of investigations, investigators, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw. And they are shown how they have to hide live progressions by sticking things in databases that no one's watching. As collusions also with people who did it at each campus I went to. Joe DiMauro sought me out to record, confess, demonstrate, confirm he's involved with scams and sequence shifts, planting evidences with police forms at Middlesex Community College in Middlesex, Connecticut, with people in Vermont. Involved also with state police families interstates, with Eric Jensen, also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed his roles all along Bernal Turnpike. And his roles as the neighbors of one of former director of the FBI's co-defendants in Newington. And, they influence him to make confessions some ways. He confessed about his families, how they're kept criminally foreign influence. Whole bunch of different countries are involved with them, where they spoke about things like crime and punishment together. They spoke of things about reason. They spoke about things like delusions while their delusions raw, criminally foreign influence. Increasingly, the educators of a Mike Roberts and of a Eric Jensen have roles with people with wire crimes that are active now, with the Wethersfield police involved with this, with Judge Napolitano sources. These are people involved with Syrians, people from Syria, people from Russia, a whole bunch of probate court judges and their family members. A judge, a Dr. Schub of modern languages, confessed he has family members and demonstrated he has family members. He doesn't even know. It was also confirmations. He has family members and neighbors who are involved with multiple judges and their family members. His wife works for a probate court. Probate courts, they have them where they have medicines as a solution, where they have to hide the roles with torture, extortion, slavery. They don't let elderly people out of the elderly homes. In other words, this is a rat trap using a torture method where if they complain about one thing, they have everyone guilty together. This is, you look up the word misprision. And please, Judge Napolitano, let's do what's right. I shouldn't have to beg you guys to get them on paper, one name and sequence. These are people also next to WFSB. Collusions with WFSB attached me to fake conversations with them and with others about the World Trade Center attack. And I was in the Ninth Circuit Court right before the attack, which is right next to the World Trade Center. And I stayed there the night before. And people with the name Scalora are increasingly involved interstates with identity theft, fraud, slanders, and demonstrations and confirmations of intelligence, foreign and domestic, of collusions with that, confessions about that. In other words, and then if I speak about it, it makes it look like I knew the scholars in the past. These are people with foreign and domestic medical families, whole bunch of different countries who are involved with identity theft, fraud, slingers, and acting because they have possession over the intelligence family. They have possession over the overt criminal enterprises. They have possession over the private ones. And it hides behind that, keeping blame, keeping on other things, others ourselves, nature's demonstrations of a human fact, human nature breaching method itself, too, as a scientific value. That we are not being allowed to appreciate offensively because of delusions wrought and simultaneously criminally foreign influence quality aspects of fact, human nature. In other words, use self-valued roles with uses of what our founders said, leaving out what they communicated and what they declassified about that, and about the breaching method that was measuring and maintaining what everyone said through themselves and everyone around them. It was sensing and still is. The suburbs were designed before America's founders were born, with torture, extortion, and slavery laws. Northern colonies and southern colonies sickly distinctly, but sickly non-distinctly. Anyone who wants to debate that alone is proof that it's going to cause negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. Plus the fact these were built, what were they using a wagon to build a house? And they wanted it and could have built it better then. Let alone now. So the nature debate contains these quality aspects in nature, criminally foreign influence quality aspects in nature. Nature like criminal insidiousness as nature. Some things are only natural as criminal insidiousness. I am not a lawyer. One of the things witch trials about and the slavery laws, even if the witch trials are made up, it's about that torture, extortion, slavery method that was entrenched. And it's about James Madison and the founders behind his plan that George Washington agreed to help. And everyone had to use that plan. Otherwise, there was no means. And they still didn't have means to rip out the rolls with the slavery and other crazy laws against everyone sickly distinctly again, because it employed how sickly non-distinctly left out by the people who are going to be suits and ties speaking for sophistication. Make it a debate. Keep the nature, psychopath calmness or psychopath aggression. Follow mandated law, please. And fake transcripts on a mass scale since founding. So they have these are people from Italy with who are doctors of psychiatry and ones with badges from a whole bunch of different countries from Korea. And like DiMauro's Market, where it is now in Rocky Hill, it used to be next to Harvard Hospital. I don't know if they still have one there. But increasingly, people next to Harvard Hospital are involved with former director of the FBI, also with journalists and with foreign and domestic military next to school campuses, planting fake transcripts and databases. There's ones with the name Leahy that pretended conversations with me. They have personally and professionally roles with judges speaking fake things in records since I was a kid, and with a Brian Silver and others who little kids recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed roles with them sticking fake things and acting fake passions and emotions tied to it into databases, predicate acts with facts, acts, methods, nature of identity theft, fraud, medical corruption with kids, and the delusions. These are doctors of mental health who are delusions, raw and criminally foreign influence at the same time. And in other words, they're putting fake things in death. Whole bunch of people that work at Harvard Hospital are personally and professionally involved with the names Collusion and O'Brien and a former Mayor Gold. And then when I was in middle school, people from they affected all these confessions and confirmations from people when I was in middle school who were planting evidences. In other words, they can't go back and hide. So they're just having everyone repeat fake things. These are people that are supposed to be experts on things like hearsay and things like that. These are evidences rackets. In other words, forgiveness is because they came through schools that communicated other for our founders. Then they communicated to have communicated for themselves. And then nature itself communicates. Because many have tried, many have used, whereas nature wants us to use correlation by care for the Native Americans. When we were little, we know we didn't want the Native Americans hurt by that crazy method that was entrenched against everyone. We know that. See, they change it with those theater too. Oh, but we're trying to get right. We're trying to get this culture right. You don't bring up cultures leaving out how the breaching method employed black and white to communicate other than nature does, when nature's not only nature as criminal insidiousness nature. When nature's, so because nature, when it connects to its complete self the way it wants to, is also checking to make sure better and better. It reveals its complete identity in relationship to itself, and only increasing value of that at the same time reveals evolution's fruits and gifts and means out of nowhere here. So we have to appreciate a special difference. But we have the logic experts, and they're involved with a whole bunch of different distinct natures of organized crime and medicines used for torture, extortion, slavery. The World Trade Center. I have a Saudi friend who was affected to confessions to me, not realizing it and confirmations. I didn't say that. In other words, I didn't respond. In other words, she was influenced by people to see how I was going to respond when she said, repeated different times, that a Claudia Scalora told her that she had sex with her cousin, a Joe DiMauro from Wethersfield, a brother of a John DiMauro. There's a Paul DiMauro involved with them with wire crimes to the Wethersfield police and falsified police reports through time. These are people with all sides in criminal and civil cases. A whole bunch of people tied to a Ray Collusion and Lenny Triglia involved with unmarked police forms and with car dealerships and police with the Wethersfield police switching and forging names, refusing to identify themselves legitimately. These are also people with Newington Police, Rocky Hill Police. There's also a guy who was reportedly the neighbor of a Ray Collusion, who is involved further with a Phil Collusion, increasingly with predicate acts on my street, with the Whiting Forensics and child offenders, more with the principal child offender I caught first. They had roles forcing that from background. That's why you need to get people on paper. I don't know all the names of the people that involved. They brought a bunch of people from other areas. Robert Rodriguez is one of the ones involved with the principal child offender. And that was the only other time I saw him was years ago when the Joe DiMauro and John DiMauro made confessions about the demonstration of their roles, also recorded with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, tactical ulterior, from how they pretended, even if they are under, unmarked police forms, supposed to be with those narratives. These are people interstates with state police, FBI. There are even CIA people involved with the confessions and confirmations on Facebook. That's really why they took my Facebook page too, more than one time. And then they make fake Facebook pages pretending to be me too. These are people who already have roles with the evidences, hyper evidential, all sides of criminal and civil cases, and the courts themselves, including in the Ninth Circuit Court in the World Trade Center attack. Joe DiMauro years ago. And also Trinity College has men and women that will tell you. In other words, a little girl tried to have me, but she didn't say anything clear. Well, in other words, she wanted me to explain, but she didn't want to hear the answer. So she wanted a yeah, A or B. She was planting evidences with a Joshua Stryker, which I didn't know that until the next day. And it's nonverbal. They do see the little tricks. In other words, I don't know her name too. She knows my name. She's at Trinity College. I don't know if she's still there. There's a Joshua Stryker, who's one of the ones involved with a Dean Judd, and people tied to a Dean Judd and a Dean Alford. A Dean Alford from Trinity College, Dean Judd from Central Connecticut State University. Now, there are intelligence families that have been in roles on all sides of those campuses who have connections to each other. Also to UConn. These are people associated with Mike Violet, with the intelligence community from UConn. People with the name Zano, too. are involved with the ones planting evidences and breaking acts with kids sequence shifts, identity theft, fraud, slander, some with the intelligence community. Increasingly, people with whiting forensics have wire crime roles and mail crime acts and roles and methods. Whole mail crime methods and wire crime methods are being used to get away with people like Judge Napolitano not following mandated law because they're listening to people that won't get on paper into Branch, Connecticut, because they have roles with the World Trade Center attack and intercampuses. These are people. Ray Reynolds, Joe DiMauro is one of the people on Valley Crest who recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. He has neighbors involved with the military and involved with the other judges' family members. They're ones, and then there are judges' family members with the name Spada and Delafera, and then they were intimately tied. And they're involved planting evidences with a Ray Collo and a Joe DiMauro. Make fake exceptions of, in other words, the only time I knew Joe DiMauro near the reservoir in Wethersfield, he would make confessions, confirmations. Others are recorded in databases. Others are recorded and they've been pretending in databases to hide. These are identity rackets roles with that breaching method, black pupils, whites of eyes. The reason people don't have equality is because the suburbs are designed tactically denatured, so everyone would hunger through bridge systems, tactically no longer hyper-native. It's showing us to appreciate the difference between president/chief, where and how it differs. It is to appreciate how we are only increasing identity of volume one way, as its own, as its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that, where Earth has a temporary/lasting, a special difference. We can ignore it, but our difference then is forced from here, leaf of Hadith. Forced space-nature transfer relative to the subject/S here, where everything has conjunctions to its complete identity of relationship to itself, and the only increasing value of that equally, simultaneously. So we can be systems other than its own, also positive unto itself, and still be nature, but it's only nature as criminal insidiousness. And it forces a negative identity relationship, force space, our concentrated difference to the rest of space nature is forced from here, forced space nature transfer, being that identity of volume we all share, being the other species' bodies have two eyes, distinctly, but also non-distinctly, simultaneously, but also for this further hyper simultaneous identity of hyper simultaneous that we can discern per science. So I never had a class with Joe DiMauro. They made a fake exception with a summer school class. A Joe DiMauro and a Heather Hansen have neighbors of theirs involved with the intelligence community, and they have a number of people named Kerr. Also, Officer Jerry Miller confessed there's a Jerry Kerr, more than one people with the name Jerry Kerr is involved with them planting evidences on the sides of my house. Also, there's a Inspector Mike involved with that, and there's a Mike. There's one of the people. There's a Mike Kerr too, but there's also a Mike Delafera, who one time I was at a campus with him. They made that as a fake exception. There's a trail of people from other areas who planted fake ties to me on my street, and they're strangers. And then, in other words, and then it made it look like I knew all those kids together that are tied to the ones with the wire crimes and mail crimes with the police now and through time. They have roles of home break-ins in the area through time that are increasingly connected too. And they manipulate the kids and the persons of the leaders of the kids, all natures and distinct natures of them. So a Leahy family faked conversations with me, and a doctor, Shamsi Ali. I never even spoke with him. He said it over the. I told him that over the phone. He said, "No, I'm no longer with them. I don't know. They made that up." In other words, let's get them on paper. They sent through the mail. That was the first of 3 times. And then the second 2 times, they made things up and made rape threats. And so this is with a Judge Killian involved as one of the people involved with why and how I have to ask Judge Napolitano. These are also Fox Connecticut News people and other natures of people he's been communicating with media. Where his roles with identity theft, fraud, slanders, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw, and roles with proven forced child defenders kids, and a principal upskirt nature. This Judge Killian has roles with digital crimes, speaking fake things in records and changing, and with the agencies changing things. Then so Judge Napolitano too, he's got sources saying, oh, it's assigning guilt to the CIA, assigning guilt to America. Countries A through Z don't know how to speak about this. You guys have to follow mandated law, get out of our business, get them on paper, one name in sequence. I've been asking since I was a kid for this. A whole bunch of other things are tied to it. And they know intercities. They have murders and things, confessions they attach at once. Because I use a whole bunch of people tied to my neighbors, Ray Collusion, to his father. They're tied to this Bill Collusion with a Bob Chase, with Whiting Forensics, and more people with the digital crowd. Joshua Julian, also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with them, and a Mike, and people with the name, a whole bunch of people at Hartford Hospital involved with the name Cololo, involved with the name Violet, involved with the Eric Oliveri, Craig Oliveri, and they have different payments. The difference between his father, they tried to make a fake exception. One time I went water skiing. That was one of the things they do when they're planting evidences. In other words, make it look like we didn't have a communication. Verbally. These are people who have been planting evidences, and then it was brought up because they have roles of the World Trade Center attack. Eric Oliveri has planted evidences across from one of the victims of it. Their neighbors are increasingly involved also with body dumping spots, and with the police forms involved with planting evidence on all sides of my house. Mike DeMaine is one of the ones involved with the religious spots too, and screaming things out about the sexual things about people of the same religion as him. And with my neighbors that used to speak with the people tied to them like Zena. In other words, he used to say things wrong. I see him for a second. I don't know them. They've been planting evidences. That's when he walked into the high school. Someone had him walk in the high school to make it look like we were friends. Like I knew him. The first day we walked into high school. In other words, it had something to do with a Mark Violet and a Mark Ciampaglione and a Rick Ciampaglione. They also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with identity theft, fraud, slander, federal evidences, crimes, identity theft, fraud, slander, sequence shifts with the Leahy family, and with the intelligence families near me, involved with the wire crimes and the police forging and switching names and making confessions. So fear God if that's a son of a Joe DiMauro, because there were also neighbors of people associated with Heather Hansen as doctors who pretend to fake conversations with me. On a mass scale, the intelligence community leaks things when they jump in to people's conversations and pretend people have mental. We're going to examine the mental diagnosis of a logic expert. I'm a doctor. I'll delineate their delusions from their criminally foreign influence, faction behavior, quiet aspects. Their soul sick. These are people with Sandy Hook campuses, on off the state judicial branch office, on off the state corrections offices, collusions with all sides of criminal and civil cases, the news, the difference between their guilt or the names next to them. These are names next to WFSB, next to Fox Connecticut News, too. And those are in other words, conjunctions to Route 3 and to that. These are also on the sides of, these are also people that recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed that they use the sides of, they have collusions with the sides of parks, the side entrances of them, to plant evidences. A whole bunch of people tied to a former mayor Gold and to his family members. I don't even know them. They try to make fake exceptions of it. Increasingly, as people are involved with, in other words, and they do too. In other words, so they have places. They're putting whole fake conversations with people intercities, and they're making confessions with this because this preaching method uses confession distinctly from everyone else, but it shows everyone else how to use it. In other words, because this preaching method measures and maintains. You guys can't defend quality aspects in fact-treating nature and afford to be, let alone to protract short words with convictions proper for nature, for integrity, for things, anything positive, negative, but integrity, how to respond to what to do with these other negative impositions. So these are not people looking out for our logistical. These are also there's Chris Walters and what's his name? Justin Klavinskis were recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed they were influenced to pretend to federal evidence crimes roles on the sides of Central Connecticut State University by their roles with their families with the intelligence community. Justin Klavinskis is one of the ones with the Mark Violet with identity theft, fraud, slanders, with people next to Trinity College in Hartford and next to Central Connecticut State University and New Britain, who are also at UConn and on off, and with the houses next to Hartford Hospital as named roles next to the hospital, next to the campuses of other, including fire and other ages of campuses, planting evidences. There's a Ray Reynolds who was in my kindergarten class at a school I only went for one year. Increasingly, his educators, they put fake things in databases there. People with a Kevin Harris, they have a Kevin Harris involved with Quinnipiac University, with judges and prosecutors planting evidences, foreign and domestic military, as collusions long term with the people that made confessions, like this tomorrow with the Keene family and the World Trade Center attack. I mean, years before it, and he said they have cousins. Him and a Ray Colo made confessions to me one of the times they were influenced to make confessions to me and demonstrations to me. And then he said, oh, you know Scalora? And Ray Colo and Joe DiMauro said but I was their shared cousin. I don't know if they were acting to make it look like that because sometimes other people influence people, and sometimes it's their own selves. As the families that are criminally foreign influenced, tactically delusions raw, and involved with home break-ins through time, and faking. They have criminally foreign influence readings of statutes regarding what's the difference between what's said online, because they're faking things at real locations. They're even at Central Connecticut State University. I never saw Eric Burgess on the campus of Central Connecticut State University in my life. And a Joseph Dennis recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. He's one of the ones down the street from my Eric Burgess house in West Hartford, near a church and a fire department and a school on the other side. And right next to a fire department is campus and a school and a church. And their narratives with that is also involved with the intelligence families. And the differences between CIA, FBI involved, military involved, foreign and domestic military too. Even a Kuwaiti general is involved with the Dean Keys from Quinnipiac University. Has a whole all these countries in the news are shared at campuses here. And so there are neighbors of a Dr. Shub involved with the probate court judges. And probate court judges are especially sick with and collusions with these names out of the state judicial branch offices and corrections offices. In other words, you got to get them on the foul mandated law. And the readings of religious books, the Old Testament has a part right up front that says only defend right here. And the part that comes before it. You know, it's up to you if you want what you want to think about that. But if you're going to pretend you're going to be about science, people should not have that not known about. And the difference if they read that book or not shouldn't matter, because the books, they're all different too. In other words, you guys are playing groupthink. Remember, it was reported by CNN, MSNBC, or Fox News that groupthink was one of the things that they said led up to the World Trade Center attack. Also, someone asked me at Harvard Hospital what religion I am. As one of the ones who recorded, expressed, demonstrated, confirmed, is involved with the Leahy family that non-verbally demonstrated to me. And then it came through the mail. I had to get somewhere else to get the response from me. So it's also recorded that Harvard Hospital is preventing me health care and help increasingly to people tied with World Trade Center predicate acts in Manhattan, who had roles intercities, Connecticut, with a whole bunch of different countries before that. And they had roles with names that are planting fake ties, fake nature of ties to me and to others at campuses per others' influences. Ray Reynolds has roles interstates with the state police forms and other intelligence. See his roles with Block Island and with people all along Route 3 and conjunctions to it. So there's a Lenny Triglia and his mother's involved and their neighbors. And one of them is people with the Gold family and the Joseph Dennis, all along Route 175. And it has something to do with some kid almost died. They almost killed him with food poisoning. That's what he said anyway. He's one of the ones involved with a Brian Silver and a Brendan Leahy with his family planting evidences and federal, drugs and medicines crimes with kids as doctors who are making kids and their families fake uses of drugs and alcohol. When I was in middle school, I didn't even drink alcohol. Everyone saw I didn't even drink the alcohol. And I was speaking like that because these are people involved with stacking roles with organized crime since I was a little kid. And then strangers know who I am. In other words, foreign and domestic time collusion. There are people from Pakistan, Afghanistan, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. People involved with Los Salitos right on Facebook. People with the name Joey Quest involved with the intelligence community. A whole bunch of people tied to a Fred Grisette and a Nick Sweet. Nick Sweet and a Fred Grisette is recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with judges and prosecutors, family members, in a whole bunch of different countries planting evidences, identity theft, fraud, slanders, intercities against the kids, and then acting tied on Facebook. In other words, they're framing kids on a mass scale, including with a Jeremy Grohl, has roles with child prisons people and the abuses of him by judges and prosecutors recorded too, that they make them self-valued. And that's relative to his roles. He made confessions about his roles with the Joshua Stryker, who I still haven't gotten them onto paper. There's a doctor, there's an officer who says his name is Darth Vader at Trinity College. So you guys should fear God for that. You guys have people that interbranch switching and forging names. They're family members next to Trinity College and CCSU with a whole bunch of different countries and fakes from my town. They're building on the fake things they stacked in databases, and they'll tell you that because I might do my business. These aren't people I have problems with. These are people that are pretending I have problems with them because the ones that were in my class, all exceptions too, they use criminally foreign influence too. They can't get it on paper. So follow mandated law for them. Fix the fake conversations with me, WFSB, and about the World Trade Center attack while you were forcing a child abuser and other natures of organized crime at once, and collusions with WTNH and their sources. WTNH has been planting evidence at corners of streets along Route 175, which is involved with Joseph Dennis has been involved with with mayors involved with medical offenders of kids, foreign and domestic, since I was a kid, and his neighbors involved with this interstate. Dear God, in other words, and his John Dennis associated with that spot along Route 173, and their roles with these mayors and their neighbors with that, and fake ties to me. And the exceptions they can't be honest about. They have to pretend there's more times I knew them, and at a different sequence. Increasingly, people building upon war crime acts and methods of Harper police families with the retired police chiefs with the same house and one's tied to them with more violence involved too with people from other areas. So you're gonna have to get them on paper, one name and sequence with the police that are switching names, little coward. Ah! Get them on paper, one name and sequence. What do you have to do? In other words, follow mandated law. Get them on paper.